Oh, hello again, everybody. Danny Rufo coming at you tonight on this beautiful August evening. I'm coming at you off of Silverside Road at the Silverside Dairy, and today I'm doing the milk show. We'll talk about dairies, the history of dairies around here, and I'm lucky enough to have this iconic building behind me. Today, Silverside Dairy, the property, you got a Rita's Water Ice. Right over there. You got Angel's Restaurant, great breakfast, by the way, right behind me. You got a Richardson's flower shop, flower place over there. There's even a wood-burning stove salesman over there. And then you got some apartments and stuff. So today, this property is multi-purpose, owned by my good buddy Jeff Schmidt. And he's got J&J auto detailing, auto restoration in the garage over here behind me, too. Nice body shop if you need any work done. So let's talk about dairies. Again, I'm on Silverside Road. We're going to have some cars zipping by. I hope it's not too much of a distraction for us. Got an airplane flying over on its way to Philly. Got dogs barking in the house next door. But we'll try to muscle through. Now I'm back from vacation. I thought you guys should get a show out of me here. So let's talk about dairy. Let's talk about milk, right? Delaware's drink, milk. The state drink of Delaware. We all enjoy a nice glass of milk. I'm on the 2% now. I used to like a nice whole milk, nice thick milk. But nowadays, I'm on the 2%. It's supposed to be a little bit better for you, right? So, we're on 2% milk in my house. The milk, dairy, it's all changed over the years. You know, in the old days, the 40s, the 50s, etc., you had the milkman. We've all seen photographs of the milkman driving by, delivering milk to your house. That's all changed. Let's go a step even further back. Down the street here on Marsh Road, if you take Marsh Road down to where I-95 goes over it near Bellevue State Park, that used to be, today there's a neighborhood, big neighborhood called Carcroft. There's also an elementary school there, Carcroft Elementary. In the turn of the century, there was a train stop on the B&O Railway all the way north, on the way going north into Philadelphia, eventually New York. That was the milk train. Would stop at Carcroft Station and pick up milk at Carcroft. So a lot of the land around here was dairy farm, and Carcroft was a major stop for the milk train. Remember, you didn't have refrigeration like you do today. That's a big part of this whole story on where we are today with milk. And so these trains would pull up to Carcroft. The milk would be loaded on these boxcars that had ice all over the place, and they'd be taken up to Philadelphia and New York City to bring milk to the people of the big cities. So Delaware milk, Carcroft milk, made its way up to the big cities on the East Coast. Kind of like today. Today you still got the Orange Blossom Special. Early in the morning on that same B&O line, Tropicana orange juice from Florida goes up to Philadelphia, New York, etc. So the railway was a big player. Dairies were local. Dairies were small operations, local operations. This is all because, of course, technology wasn't around yet. We still didn't have proper refrigeration techniques. That's why people had their milk delivered every couple of days, because even people in their homes, they didn't have refrigerators like we do today. And sometimes you had the ice box, right, where the ice was underneath. You kept things up, but that didn't last. And people had ice delivered, ice and coal. The big player in that Delaware was Diamond Ice and Coal Company. Would bring winter, they'd bring you the coal, and in the summer they'd bring you your ice. So because of that, dairies were very localized, okay? Let me run through some of the historic dairies. Now, I know a lot of people that follow me, a lot of people that follow the pages I post these on, will share photographs and some information that they have. We've got a lot of pocket historians out there. So please, I encourage you, throw in some pictures, give me some extra information. You've got Abbott's Dairy, which would later on merge with Fram's Dairy in 1957. That was on Union Street. The Blue Hen Dairy, which was eventually sold also to Abbott's Dairy. That was also along Union Street. The Breidablik Farm Dairy on Lancaster Pike. Some of these you've heard of, some not as much. There was the City Dairy on Green Hill, 2nd and Green Hill was the City Dairy. The Clover Dairy Company was at 1200 Orange Street. Delamore Dairy was on Lancaster Avenue, 1810 Lancaster Avenue. And I remember the Delamore Dairy very well. My brother would take me up there to get milkshakes. It's 3 or 4 blocks away from where I grew up, the Delaware Dairy. You had Earl's Dairy at North Scott Street. Fram's Dairy, Clarence Frame, started his company in 1900 on 24th and Jefferson. Then they moved to Vandever Avenue and Lamont Street. That was Fram's Dairy. Green Hill Dairy was on Green Hill Avenue, 119 Green Hill Avenue. The Heinz Dairy was on Pine Street, 3604 Pine Street. High Point Dairy on Beaver Valley Road, still there, still in production. Kids in most of the schools around here still get their High Point milk for lunch. And I believe High Point bought the big dairy downstate, the Lewis Dairy. I believe that they are part or involved with that as well. So High Point's still around. They still make the milk and they still ship it out. You've got Kaczynski's Dairy on Van Buren and Linden Street. Lindell's Dairy on Milltown Road. Lithwaite Farm Dairy on Concord Pike. And a lot of people talk about the Lithwaite Dairy. Also had an ice cream shop, I think. So I've seen a lot of posts over the years about people talking about that dairy up on 202. Maple Lawn Dairy was in Hare's Corner. Did I do Rose Hill? Rose Hill Dairy. 12th and Heald Street, downtown. And then, of course, Silverside Dairy, which was opened by Joseph A. Schmidt in 1933. They had a dairy store that opened in the 1950s. They also bought some of the other smaller dairies, including Maple Lawn Dairy. They became a seal test distributor in the 60s and continued on until the late 60s. And, of course, that's the building behind me, the Silverside Dairy. There was the West End Dairy, which was on 8th Avenue, 318 8th Avenue. And then Woodward's Dairy, 2810 Center Road. And so those are some, and I want to thank oldwilmington.net. That's where I got the list of dairies. Great old website there. I've been using that website for years. Oldwilmington.net has lists of things you can look up, and dairies are one of them. So, all these dairies, milk being delivered all the time, what changed? What happened? Why did milk change? And I was talking to Jeff about this just the other night to give me some insights on his father's business, and he worked here when he was a young man doing early morning deliveries and stuff. Really, technology and transportation. The trucks, the tanker trucks were bigger, refrigeration on board, made it so the milk could be transported further distances, and there wasn't no longer the need for these local, almost neighborhood dairies sometimes. So consolidation took place because of transportation issues. Also, refrigeration. Now, again, we can thank Oliver Evans of Newport, Delaware. Some of his early patents were for early refrigeration methods. Some of them still used today in refrigeration. It was just a motorcycle. It was just technology caught up to the business. And so there was this refrigeration revolution. And so dairies no longer had to deliver milk all the time to people. People were getting refrigerators in their homes. Refrigeration in supermarkets also led to the dairies being able to sell directly to supermarkets instead of to individuals. And after a while, you just have this consolidation. You just didn't need 12, 13 dairies in Newcastle County. And little by little, the business kind of dwindled. So refrigeration and transportation. Those were really the two main things that kind of pushed the changes in the dairy industry. And to what we have today, where today you can buy a gallon of milk at the gas station. You know, you can get a gallon of milk at 7-Eleven. You can get a gallon of milk anywhere. You don't have to go to a dairy to get a gallon of milk, and you certainly don't have to wait for the guy to pull up to your door and drop off the milk for you. So thanks to refrigeration, thanks to transportation, the dairy industry changed, maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. Silverside Dairy carried on for a while, and today, again, you've got new uses for this property. The Rita's Water Ice has ice cream, right? You can go there and you can get gelatos, gelati, water ice. Gina works there, so I'll give them a shout out. I like Rita's. I hit Rita's all the time. I am going to do a water ice show. I talk about the old neighborhood and the water ice I grew up with as well. So that's coming up, the water ice show. Also, I got a couple other shows in pre-production. All right, I'm going to be doing the special Godfather show with my buddy, Coach Bat, David Batafarano from Paramus. He and I are good friends, and we're going to sit down and we're going to talk Godfather. We'll do Godfather 1, 2, and 3. Talk about our favorite scenes, some characters, share with you some insights into the Godfather trilogy. That's coming up. I got a show with my brother Larry on the back burner. We're going to talk about, again, businesses on the west side of Wilmington in Little Italy when we were growing up. That's cooking. And I got a big show, big thing with my good buddies Nunzio and Incognito. Incognito and Nunzio, they do a nice show. They were nice enough to invite me in on their program one night. So eventually you're going to see me in with those two very cool guys. I know they do NFL picks every week. They talk about all kinds of things. So I'm very excited to work with those two guys. Super gentlemen, Incognito and Nunzio. So that's on the back burner. We're going to be setting some things up. I got a railroad show coming up. I got a couple buddies that are railroad guys, railroad historians. They're going to come around and do some work with me. I got a horseman show. I got a buddy from high school that drives sulkies. He drives the horses. All right, so he's going to tell us a little bit of the history of horses, horse racing, the racinos. Now you can go, you know, used to be bet on a horse. Now you can bet on a horse and do a slot machine, blackjack. So we'll talk about how that industry has changed as well. So I got a lot of things. Summer's creeping to an end. Remember, I coach. I got women's volleyball, high school coming up in another week. That's going to start. And I'm coaching 10th and 11th, 10-year-old and 11-year-old football for my son Dominic's team, the Brandywine Warriors. I volunteered to help, and now you're looking at the head coach. All right, so I'm coaching football again. I haven't done that in years. So I got a lot of things coming, but I'm going to sneak a few shows in here before the end of summer. Then when fall hits, we'll drop down maybe a show every week, every couple of weeks. We'll kind of slow it down a little bit. And then in the winter, we'll have some fun around the holidays. All right, so there's a little preview of what to come. Thanks for hanging out with me today at the Silverside Dairy on Silverside Road up here in beautiful North Wilmington, and let me talk to you about milk. All right? Take it easy, everybody. I'll see you later. And now you know we're going to shut her down. Bye, everybody. Drink milk. It's good for you. Vitamin D and such. Take it easy.